Mary stood in the rain, drenched and heartbroken. The dream wedding she had envisioned for Sarah was slipping through her fingers like water. Why did it have to rain today? She thought, the clouds seeming to mock her meticulous plans. As the guests huddled under umbrellas, laughter turned to murmurs. The catering had gone awry too, overcooked chicken, missing desserts. Sarah's face twisted in frustration as she turned to Mary. "You ruined everything!" The words cut deep, sharper than any knife. Mary felt her heart shatter, the weight of her daughter's anger crashing down on her. "I just wanted it to be perfect for you," she whispered, but Sarah was already storming away, leaving Mary standing alone in the downpour. In the days that followed, Mary felt the chill of isolation creep into her bones. John, her husband, was supportive but absent, lost in the demands of work. Mary felt the burden of expectations pressing down on her, suffocating her spirit. The wedding had been meant to unite their family, yet it seemed to pull them apart. Sarah, once so eager to share her dreams, now seemed a world away, caught up in her own whirlwind of independence. "Hang in there, Mary," she told herself, but it was easier said than done. The vibrant laughter of family gatherings turned into strained silences. Friends began to notice the tension, their concerned glances heavy with unspoken questions. Mary's heart ached for connection, yet it felt increasingly out of reach. The church, once a sanctuary, now felt like a distant memory. She longed to feel God's presence, but her faith wavered amidst the storm of her emotions. Panic attacks gripped her in the quiet hours of the night, leaving her breathless and alone. "Stay strong," she urged herself, but the words felt hollow. She couldn't shake the feeling of failure that clung to her like a shadow. The love she had poured into her family seemed to drain away, leaving behind a hollow ache. As the months rolled on, Mary's emotional state became a barrier, isolating her from the very people she sought to connect with. Sarah's resentment simmered beneath the surface, igniting every family gathering with tension. Mary could see it in Sarah's eyes, the hurt, the anger, the disappointment. "I'm just a failure as a mum," Mary thought, tears streaming down her cheeks in the quiet of the night. The world outside carried on, but within her heart, a storm raged. She had always believed she could overcome obstacles, but this felt insurmountable. "Why can't I just pull through?" she cried out to the empty room, the silence echoing back her despair. It was a feeling that wrapped around her like a thick fog, stifling her breath. The church community, once vibrant and supportive, felt like a distant shore she could no longer reach. "Maybe if I just try harder," she thought. But every effort was met with a wave of exhaustion that left her feeling even more defeated. John, unaware of the depth of her struggle, continued to shoulder his own burdens, unaware of the storm brewing within his wife. With each passing day, Mary felt herself slipping further away from the warmth of her family. The love that had once defined their home was now overshadowed by unspoken words and unresolved hurt. She could see the distance growing, and it terrified her. "What have I done?" she questioned, grappling with her feelings of inadequacy. The wedding disaster lingered like a ghost, haunting her thoughts and drowning her spirit. She longed to mend the rift between her and Sarah, yet every attempt felt futile. But what Mary didn't know was that beneath the surface, Sarah was fighting her own battles. The weight of expectations had pressed down on her, leaving her feeling lost and overwhelmed. As she watched her mother struggle, she felt a mixture of anger and sadness. "Why can't you just understand?" Sarah thought, her heart heavy with confusion. She had always admired her mother's strength, but now she felt trapped in a web of disappointment. Each family gathering became a battlefield, filled with unspoken words and tension that threatened to erupt. Mary felt the walls closing in, while Sarah grappled with her own expectations of independence. As the distance between them widened, Mary clung to the hope that someday they would find their way back to each other. She yearned for redemption, for forgiveness, for a second chance at the love they once shared. But little did she know that the journey ahead would require more than just hope. It would demand strength, resilience, and the willingness to confront the pain head-on. And in the depths of her despair, Mary would discover that healing often comes from the most unexpected places. But first, they had to face the truth of their emotions, the raw, unfiltered reality of their hearts. Could they ever find their way back? Mary wondered, a flicker of hope igniting in her chest. But the answer lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered in the turbulent waters of their family's journey. I remember the warmth of those sunny afternoons, the laughter echoing through our little home. It felt like life was a continuous stream of joy. My children, Sarah and David, would chase each other around the garden, their giggles like music. We had our traditions. Sunday dinners were sacred, everyone sitting together, sharing stories, and passing around dishes that had been in the family for generations. Those were the days when love held us tightly, a cocoon of safety and belonging. But in the back of my mind, there was always a whisper of something darker, a shadow lurking, just out of sight. I didn't know it then, but those golden moments were like a fragile glass, beautiful yet easily shattered. My heart was full, but a part of me remained vigilant, always asking, what if? I often sat at the kitchen table, sipping tea from my favorite mug, looking at family photos. Each picture told a story, a moment frozen in time. I could see the love in our smiles, but sometimes I felt a tightness in my chest, a subtle hint that not everything was as it seemed. There was a sense of impending change, a storm brewing on the horizon. Looking back now, I can see the signs, the little things that went unnoticed, the way David's laughter seemed forced, the way Sarah would sometimes stare off into space, lost in thought. I dismissed them as the struggles of growing up, but deep down, I felt a pang of worry. Am I losing them? The question haunted me. One evening, as I was cleaning up after dinner, I found an old recipe book tucked away in a drawer. It was filled with my mother's handwritten notes, each page adorned with flower smudges and cheerful doodles. Flipping through it, I could almost hear her voice, guiding me in the kitchen. It brought back a flood of memories, her laughter, her love. I realized that even in the chaos, those memories were my anchor. They reminded me of who we were as a family, of the values we held dear. But as I closed the book, a chill ran down my spine. I felt it again, the whisper, the warning. Something's not right. I brushed it off, thinking I was being overly dramatic, but the feeling wouldn't leave me. I tried to shake it off, focusing on my family, planning our next gathering. Yet, the unease lingered, like an unwelcome guest. The following week, everything changed. It was a typical Saturday, sunny and bright. I was preparing for our family barbecue, excited to see everyone together. I set the table outside, the scent of grilled chicken filling the air. But when Sarah arrived, she seemed distant. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I tried to engage her in conversation, but she would only nod, her gaze drifting away. "Is everything okay, love?" I asked, concern creeping into my voice. "Yeah, Mum, just tired," she replied. But I could see the cracks forming. Something was brewing. As the day unfolded, I noticed David retreating into himself too, his laughter fading. He used to be the life of the party, but now he sat quietly, lost in thought. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. This wasn't just a phase, this was something deeper. I tried to ignore it, to focus on the joy of the day, but the nagging feeling grew stronger. What's happening to my family? That night, after everyone left, I sat alone in the garden, the stars twinkling above. I prayed for clarity, for strength. I needed to know what was wrong. In the silence, I felt a flicker of hope. I remembered the teachings of my faith, the resilience that comes from facing challenges. I will find the strength to pull through, I whispered to myself. But what I didn't realize was that this was just the beginning. The following weeks brought whispers of discontent, arguments that erupted like sudden storms. David shouted, "You don't understand." And Sarah retorted, "You're not even listening." The love that had once bound us felt frayed, like an old thread ready to snap. One night, I overheard them arguing in the hallway. I stood frozen, my heart racing. Their words cut deep, revealing wounds I hadn't seen. "Why can't you just let us live our lives?" David's voice trembled. "You're suffocating us." Their words echoed in my mind. Suffocating? I felt hurt, confused. I had always been there for them, yet somehow, I was missing the mark. In the days that followed, I sought advice from friends, hoping for insight. "Sometimes, kids just need space," one friend said, her voice soothing. "You've given them so much love, they need to find their own way." I nodded, but inside, a storm raged. Is love enough? Then, I found an old journal filled with my thoughts and prayers. It reminded me of my journey, my struggles, and the strength I had found in faith. I began to write. Again, pouring my heart onto the pages. Each word felt like a step toward healing. I realized I needed to confront the tension head on. So, I called a family meeting. My heart raced as I prepared to speak. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady yet vulnerable. As we sat together, I could feel the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. "I love you both deeply, but I sense there's a distance between us. I want to understand." The silence felt heavy. Finally, Sarah spoke, her voice quivering. "Mom, we just feel overwhelmed. We want to make our own choices, but it feels like you're always watching." David nodded, his eyes glistening. "It's like we can't breathe. We love you, but we need you to trust us." Their honesty stung, but it was a wake-up call. In that moment, I understood. Love is not just about protection. Sometimes it's about letting go. But what they didn't know was that I was facing my own battles. As I began to open up about my fears, my voice trembled. "I want you to be free, but I'm scared of losing you." Tears filled Sarah's eyes. "We're not going anywhere, Mum. We just want to be ourselves." In that moment, I felt a shift. Hope flickered like a candle in the dark, but still, a part of me wondered what would happen next. As we embraced, I realized that this was just the beginning of a longer journey. The path to healing would take time and patience. I whispered a silent prayer, asking for strength to navigate this new chapter. But the truth was, we were all still grappling with our own fears and insecurities. And the real challenge lay ahead, waiting just around the corner. Little did I know, we were on the brink of facing a conflict that would test the very foundation of our family. What they didn't know was that something was coming to light, something that would change everything. Would we be strong enough to weather the storm together? I was sitting at the kitchen table, a warm cup of tea in hand, when the phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. A pit formed in my stomach. I hesitated, but something pushed me to answer. "Hello?" I said, my voice steady, though my heart raced. "Is this Mary?" The voice on the other end was cold, distant. "Yes, who's this?" "I think you need to know something. It's about your daughter, Sarah." Those words hit me like a punch in the gut. What could possibly be wrong? In that moment, the warmth of the tea turned to ice in my hands. My mind raced back to the last family, gathering a Sunday dinner filled with laughter, but also subtle tension. Sarah had been distant, her laughter forced, her eyes avoiding mine. I brushed it off then, thinking it was just a phase. But now, I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was brewing beneath the surface. "Is she okay?" I managed to ask, my voice trembling slightly. There was a pause, and I could hear the sound of papers shuffling. "There have been some issues. You should come by." An urgent knot twisted in my stomach. My instincts screamed that this was serious. I hung up, heart pounding, and stared out the window. The world outside seemed so normal. Birds chirped, children played. But inside, my world was spiraling. I picked up my phone and dialed Sarah. No answer. I left a message. "Please call me back. I'm worried." I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing her. The thought of my daughter struggling alone was unbearable. I had always taught her to be strong, to face her challenges head on. But what if she was facing something too big for her to handle? Later that evening, I drove to her apartment. The streets were slick with rain, reflecting the lights like 1,000 shattered dreams. As I parked outside her building, I felt a mix of dread and determination. I needed to be there for her, but what if she didn't want me there? I knocked softly on her door, my heart racing. After a long moment, the door creaked open. Sarah stood before me, her eyes puffy and red. My heart sank. "Hey, Mum," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can I come in?" I asked, trying to keep the concern from my voice. She stepped aside, and I entered, taking in the messy living room, the clothes strewn about, the half-empty takeout boxes. It looked like she hadn't been taking care of herself. "What's going on, love?" I asked, sitting on the edge of her couch, trying to project calm. She sank into the chair across from me, her shoulders slumped. "I don't know where to start. Just tell me what's bothering you," I urged, leaning forward. Sarah hesitated, biting her lip. "It's just, everything feels so overwhelming. Work, relationships." She looked away, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I feel like I'm drowning." I wanted to reach out to comfort her, but I knew she had to speak her truth first. Have you thought about talking to someone? Maybe a therapist? She shook her head vigorously, frustration flaring. I don't need therapy. I just need to figure it out on my own. The tension in the room thickened. I could feel the barrier she was putting up. It was as if she was standing on one side of a chasm, and I was on the other, desperately trying to bridge the gap. Sweetheart, it's okay to ask for help, I said gently. We all need it sometimes. I can't keep talking about my problems. I don't want to burden you. Her voice cracked, and I felt the sting of her words. You're not a burden, I insisted, my voice firm yet loving. I'm your mother. I'm here to support you, no matter what. But she just stared at me, defiance flashing in her eyes. You don't understand. You've always had it together. You don't know what it's like to feel so lost. I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. I've had my share of struggles too, Sarah. We all do. It's part of life. But you have to let me in. I can't help you if you don't. Let me. The silence hung heavy, filled with unspoken words. I watched as she wrestled with her emotions, the fight in her eyes battling against the vulnerability. I'm scared, Mom, she finally admitted, her voice barely a whisper. What if I can't pull through? Then we'll figure it out together, I replied, my heart aching for her. You're stronger than you think. You've faced challenges before, and you can overcome this too. But what if I fail? She pressed, tears spilling down her cheeks. Failure doesn't define you, I said, my voice steady. It's part of the journey. You can learn, grow, and come back stronger. That's what faith teaches us. Remember, God has a plan for you. You just need to trust in it. She looked at me, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. I don't know if I can. Hang in there, Sarah. You have a whole community that loves you. You're not alone in this. The tension in the room began to dissolve, replaced by a fragile hope. But just as we were beginning to connect, her phone buzzed on the table, breaking the moment. She glanced at the screen, her expression shifting to one of alarm. It's Michael, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I felt my stomach drop. Michael, the boyfriend I had never trusted, the one who had always seemed to bring out the worst in her? Do you want to talk to him? She hesitated, her fingers hovering over the screen. I don't know. I'm not sure I want to face him right now. Maybe you should, I suggested. You have to stand your ground. You deserve to be treated with respect. As she stared at her phone, I could see the internal struggle play out on her face. But just when she reached for it, she stopped. What if he's the reason I'm feeling this way? The question hung in the air like a dark cloud. Then you need to confront that, I said, my voice firm but gentle. You have the strength to do it, Sarah. But she just shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. What if he doesn't change? What if it never gets better? I felt a surge of protective love. You deserve better than this. You deserve to be happy. As she looked at me, I hoped she could see the truth in my eyes. This was her moment to choose healing over despair. But as she finally picked up her phone to answer the call, I knew the answer could change everything. Would she find her strength, or would she fall back into the darkness? But what she didn't know was that this call would reveal more than just the state of their relationship. It would uncover secrets that could shatter everything. And in that moment, I realized the storm was just beginning. I thought I knew my family well. We were close-knit, or so I believed. Every Sunday, we gathered around the dinner table, sharing stories, laughter, and love. Our home was filled with the scent of my famous roast, and the sound of my children's laughter echoed through the halls. But that night, everything changed. It was a family gathering, a celebration of sorts. The atmosphere was light, but I felt a tension in the air, like a storm brewing just out of sight. My daughter Jennifer sat across from me. Her smile seemed forced, her eyes darting around the room. I brushed it off. After all, we all have our moments, don't we? As the evening wore on, I noticed a shift. Words that once flowed freely became sharp and jagged. My son David made a joke that cut deeper than he meant. Mom, maybe it's time for you to step back. You're not the young woman you used to be. Laughter followed, but I felt the sting. It was a reminder of my age, of my unwelcome limitations. I tried to laugh it off, to shake off the discomfort. Well, I can still beat you at tennis, can't I? I shot back, attempting to lighten the mood. But the laughter faded quickly, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. That was the first crack in our family facade. Later that evening, as I washed the dishes, I overheard whispers. "She just doesn't get it anymore," Jennifer said, her voice laced with frustration. "It's like she's stuck in the past." I froze, the plate slipping from my hands and shattering on the floor. The noise echoed in the quiet kitchen, much like the words I'd just heard. I felt betrayed. How could they think that of me? I was doing my best, trying to hold us together, to keep our family traditions alive. Yet, here I was, the very person who had always been their rock, suddenly deemed irrelevant. That night, I lay awake, my heart heavy with confusion and hurt. How had we come to this? As a mother, my job was to nurture them, provide support, and guide them through life. Yet, I felt like the ground beneath me was crumbling. I needed to understand. I needed to confront this new reality. Days turned into weeks, and the conversations grew colder. My family became distant, like shadows slipping away into the night. I tried reaching out, planning small outings, but the enthusiasm was gone. "I'm busy," they would say, their voices lacking warmth. I turned to my faith for solace. I prayed for strength, for clarity. "Lord, show me the way," I whispered in the quiet of the night. But silence enveloped me. I sought guidance but felt lost. I tried to hold on to hope, yet despair crept in like a thief in the night. One evening, I found myself alone in the church, the flickering candles casting a warm glow. I knelt, pouring out my heart, seeking peace. As I prayed, a sense of calm washed over me. "Hang in there," I told myself. "You'll pull through." But deep down, I knew I had to confront my family. They needed to understand my side, my pain. I couldn't let them slip away without fighting for our bond. I had to be strong for myself and for them. The next family dinner loomed like a storm on the horizon. I was determined to address the elephant in the room. My heart raced as I set the table, each fork and knife a reminder of the love we once shared. When everyone arrived, I could see the hesitance in their eyes. They exchanged glances, unsure of what was to come. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my words pressing against my chest. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady but my heart trembling. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. "I know things have been tough," I continued, "but we can't let misunderstandings tear us apart. I love each of you deeply. I just want us to be a family again." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears, and David shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Mom, we didn't mean to hurt you," he finally spoke, his voice softening. "We just thought you were, well, stuck." That word hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Stuck. It felt like a rejection of everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed. "I'm not stuck. I'm just evolving," I replied, my voice breaking slightly. "Can't we all evolve together?" But as I looked into their eyes, I realized that the conversation was only just beginning. There was a lot to unpack, a lot of misunderstandings to clear. I could feel the tension easing, but the road ahead was still rocky. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, I felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was the first step towards healing, a step towards redemption. I understood now that we all needed to communicate, to share our fears and dreams. But what I didn't know was that this was only the beginning of a much larger battle, one that would test our family bonds like never before. And just when I thought we were on the path to healing, something unexpected happened that would change everything once again. As I looked at my family, I felt a mix of love and apprehension. But what they didn't know was that soon, everything would change. Again. The days rolled by, each one heavier than the last. I tried to pull through, but the cracks in our family were widening. As I sat on the edge of my bed, the weight of uncertainty pressed down on me. I could feel it in my bones. I needed answers. I needed to confront the truth. One night, while rummaging through old boxes in the attic, I stumbled upon a dusty envelope. It was brown and worn, almost pleading to be opened. My heart raced as I ripped it open. Inside, a stack of papers lay crumpled, yellowing with age. A will. My husband's will. My mind raced. I hadn't seen this in years. It spoke of assets, properties, and secrets. A small fortune I never knew existed. I felt the blood rush from my head. Why didn't he tell me? I whispered to myself. The betrayal stung like 1,000 bees. I thought of Jennifer and David, my children. Was this what they meant when they said I was stuck? Were they aware of this hidden life I had no idea about? The tension in the air felt electric. The very next day, I decided to confront them. I gathered my strength, ready to face the storm. "We need to talk about something important," I said, my voice steady, but the tremor in my hands betrayed me. Their faces turned pale, a mix of confusion and apprehension. "Is it about Mum's health?" David asked, worry etched across his brow. "I know things have been rough." "No, it's bigger than that," I replied, my heart pounding. "It's about your father. His will. He left more behind than we realized. There are secrets I never knew." Jennifer's eyes darted nervously. "What do you mean, secrets? Is there money involved?" I nodded, the weight of the moment sinking in. "Yes, but it's not just about money. It's about trust, family, and the choices we make." The room was thick with silence, each breath drawn out like an eternity. What did he want us to do with it? David finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I took a deep breath. "I don't know yet, but I do know that we have to be honest with each other. No more hiding, no. More misunderstandings. We need to figure this out together." Jennifer looked at me, her expression softening. "Mum, I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought you just didn't want to see what was happening." "Stuck," I whispered, the word echoing in my mind. "But I'm not. I'm learning. We all are." Just as hope flickered in my heart, the doorbell rang. A chill ran down my spine. Who could it be? I opened the door, and there stood a stranger, holding a document. "Is this the residence of Elizabeth?" he asked. My heart dropped. "Yes, I'm Elizabeth," I replied, confusion swirling within me. He handed me the document, and my hands trembled as I read the first line. "You have been summoned to court regarding your late husband's estate." The world around me blurred. I felt my knees buckle. Everything was unraveling, and I was standing on the edge of a cliff. But what they didn't know was that this was just the beginning. As the dinner continued, a tension hung in the air like a storm cloud. I could feel it pressing down on my chest, heavy and suffocating. Each bite of food felt like a reminder of our fractured relationships, but it was Jennifer's silence that cut the deepest. She was usually the first to speak up, to crack a joke, to lighten the mood. Now, she sat there, her eyes cast down, tracing patterns on the tablecloth. "Jen," I said softly, hoping to pull her back into the conversation. "You're awfully quiet. What's on your mind?" She looked up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I just feel lost. Mum, I don't know how to fix this." David nodded, his expression serious. "We're all struggling. I wish I could make things right, but it's hard to know where to start." Their honesty was a balm to my aching heart. "Let's start by being honest," I urged. "We've been tiptoeing around our feelings for too long. It's time to face them head on, just as the dance of tans." As words left my mouth, I heard a sharp knock at the door. It shattered the fragile moment we were sharing. My heart sank. Who could it be? The last thing I wanted was more drama. I opened the door to find my sister Sarah standing there. Her face was flushed, a mix of anger and concern. "You won't believe what I just heard," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. The atmosphere shifted again, tension coiling tighter. "What is it, Sarah?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She took a deep breath. "It's about the house. I found out that someone's trying to sell it behind your back." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. "What? Who would do that?" "Elizabeth," she replied, her voice steady. "She's been meeting with realtors. I overheard her talking about it." David's chair scraped against the floor as he stood. "That's not possible. We all agreed it would stay in the family." "Clearly she doesn't see it that way," Sarah replied, a fire igniting in her eyes. "We need to confront her. She can't just do this." "Wait," I said, raising a hand to calm the brewing storm. "Let's think this through. If we confront her now, it might push her further away. We need a plan." But my words felt weak as the weight of betrayal settled over us. The house was more than just bricks and mortar. It was our family's history, our memories. It was the place where we had celebrated birthdays, mourned losses, and shared laughter. Jennifer's voice trembled as she spoke. "What if she's right? What if we're all just holding on to something that's already gone?" "No," I said firmly. "We can't let her take that away from us. We have to fight for what's ours. With every word, I felt my resolve harden. We'd faced challenges before, and we had always pulled through together. This time would be no different. Let's gather our thoughts and come up with a plan. We'll talk to Elizabeth, but on our terms. The room buzzed with a new energy, a collective determination sparking among us. We were no longer just a family caught in a web of misunderstandings. We were warriors, ready to reclaim our legacy. But as we made our plans, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. There were deeper issues at play, hidden truths waiting to surface. And just when I thought we were ready to tackle Elizabeth, another revelation hit me like a bolt from the blue, one that would change everything yet again. What I didn't know was that this battle for our family's home would unearth secrets better left buried, secrets that would test our bonds in ways we never expected. As I looked around the table, determination mixed with dread, I knew that the fight ahead would require strength, forgiveness, and perhaps a little faith. But the question lingered. Could we hold on to each other through the storm? As I sat there, the tension crackled in the air like static electricity. The dinner table, once a place of laughter and warmth, now felt like a battlefield. I needed to uncover the truth, to confront the shadows that had crept into our lives. That's when I spotted it, a letter, slightly crumpled, tucked beneath the tablecloth. My heart raced. I pulled it out, my hands trembling. It was old, yellowed with age, and addressed to me. As I unfolded it, a rush of emotions flooded over me. The words danced off the page, echoing secrets I had never known. To my beloved Mary, it began. If you're reading this, it means I am no longer with you. The room fell silent as I read, my voice barely above a whisper. This letter is a testament to the love I have for you and the family we built together. But then it took a darker turn. There are things about our history that you must uncover, truths that have been hidden to protect you. Jennifer leaned in, her brow furrowed. Mum, what does it say? I looked up, feeling the weight of the words pressing down on me. It's about our family and the past we've buried. David's eyes widened, a flicker of concern crossing his face. What do you mean? What do we not know? It was a question that hung in the air, heavy with expectation. I felt as if the ground beneath me was shifting. There are secrets about your grandfather. The mention of my father sent a shiver down my spine. We had always spoken of him in reverence, but that reverence was built on a foundation of silence. He wasn't the man you think he was, I continued, my voice steady but my heart racing. It felt like unearthing a grave, exposing bones long buried. Why didn't you ever tell us? Jennifer's voice trembled. I could hear the hurt, the confusion. Because I wanted to protect you. I thought that if you didn't know, you could be free of it. David shook his head, frustration bubbling to the surface. Free of what? The truth? Mum, we deserve to know. We're adults now. The tension in the room crackled like a storm about to break. I know, I said, swallowing hard. I just didn't want to burden you with my mistakes. Mistakes. That word echoed in my mind, weaving through the fabric of our family history. I had made choices that had woven a web of lies and secrets. But now, it's time for us to confront them, together. As my words sank in, I could see the gears turning in their minds. They were processing, trying to fit the pieces together. What's in the letter? David pressed, urgency in his tone. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. It speaks of a hidden inheritance and a betrayal that shook our family to its core. The room felt colder, the air thick with disbelief. An inheritance? Jennifer echoed, her eyes wide. What are you saying, Mum? It's not just money. I replied, my heart heavy. It's a legacy, a burden that has followed us. It's about choices made long before you were born. They were silent, absorbing the weight of my confession. I could see their minds racing, questions bubbling beneath the surface. But what they didn't know was that this was only the beginning of a much larger puzzle. Just as I thought we were peeling back layers of our past, the doorbell rang, shattering the fragile moment. My heart sank. I wasn't ready for whatever storm awaited us on the other side. Who could that be? David asked, glancing at me with concern. An unwelcome feeling tugged at my gut, a premonition of trouble. I stood, my legs feeling heavy as I made my way to the door. With each step, I felt the weight of our family's secrets heavy upon me. I opened the door, and what I saw made my heart stop. Standing there was a stranger, a man in a dark suit, his expression unreadable. "Mrs. Mary," he said, his voice smooth yet chilling, "I believe we need to talk." In that moment, I knew that the truth of our family was about to unravel in ways I couldn't have imagined. The storm was here, and there would be no turning back. But what he didn't know was that this was only the beginning of a much larger battle, one that would test our family bonds like never before. The tension in the room was palpable. Each of us sat at the table, the air thick with unspoken words. I could sense the shift. They were watching me closely, waiting for my next move. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to leap into the unknown. At that moment, I knew I had to pull through for all of us. "Jennifer, David," I began, my voice steady but softer than I intended. "We're at a crossroads. I can't just sit here and pretend everything is fine." Their eyes widened, the weight of my words settling in. I took a deep breath, willing my heart to stay strong. "Do you remember last year?" I continued, recalling that family gathering when laughter echoed through the house. Warmth filled our hearts. We were so close then, but now it feels like we're miles apart. I could see Jennifer's fingers fidgeting with her napkin. "I just want to understand what's changed. What happened?" "It's just life, Mum," David said cautiously, his voice barely above a whisper. "Things get complicated." "Complicated?" I echoed, my heart aching. "That's not good enough. We've faced storms before. We can weather this one together. I need you both to trust me. Trust that I'm still the mother you knew." There was a flicker of something in Jennifer's eyes, perhaps regret or realization. "Mum, we thought you were—" She hesitated as if the words could shatter us all. "We thought you were losing yourself." "Losing myself?" I repeated, a mix of pain and confusion washing over me. "I'm not lost. I'm just evolving. Can't we evolve together?" In that moment, I realized this was about more than just misunderstandings. It was about fear of change, fear of losing our bonds. I felt a shift in the atmosphere, a glimmer of hope mingling with the tension. "Let's talk openly. Let's share what's in our hearts," I urged, feeling a surge of determination. But just as I began to sense a breakthrough, the doorbell rang, slicing through our fragile moment. "I'll get it," David offered, rising from his seat. I watched him leave, a knot tightening in my stomach. Who could possibly be interrupting us now? The moment felt fragile, like a glass sculpture at risk of shattering. As David opened the door, I caught glimpses of his expression: confusion, shock. It's Robert," he stammered. My heart sank. Robert, my estranged brother, had always been the black sheep of the family. His arrival was unexpected, like a sudden storm on a clear day. What is he doing here? I thought, panic creeping in. "Can we help you?" David asked, his tone laced with caution. "I need to talk," Robert replied, his voice low and urgent. "It's important." I could hardly breathe. This was the last thing we needed. My family was already on shaky ground, and now here he was, a wild card. I exchanged glances with Jennifer, the worry mirrored in her eyes. "Can't this wait?" I called, trying to keep my composure. "We're in the middle of something." "No, it can't wait," Robert insisted, stepping into the house. His presence loomed large, and I felt the air thickening around us. I rose to meet him, my heart racing. "What do you want, Robert?" He looked at me, his expression unreadable. "I just found out some things about Mum," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "What do you mean?" I demanded, feeling an unsettling chill creep up my spine. "It's about her will. There are things you don't know." Those words hung in the air, heavy, ominous. A wave of dread washed over me. "What do you mean I don't know?" "Just listen, okay? This is bigger than you think." I felt my pulse quicken. My family was on the edge of a breakthrough, and now Robert was threatening to pull us back into chaos. I glanced at Jennifer and David, their faces a mix of confusion and concern. "I don't have time for games, Robert," I snapped, my patience wearing thin. "It's not a game, this is serious." He pressed, his voice rising. "You need to know the truth." The storm inside me swirled, threatening to spill over. "What truth?" I demanded, my voice steadying as I fought to stay composed. "About the inheritance, about the family secrets," he continued, his eyes darting between us. My heart raced. What secrets? What are you talking about? But Robert's next words were like a dagger. You're not the only one who's been left something. Silence fell again, but this time it was suffocating. The tension was palpable, thick like fog. I felt my world tilt, the ground beneath me shaking. Not the only one? I echoed, my voice barely above a whisper. What do you mean? I mean, there are others. Family members you don't even know about. Shock coursed through me. Others? Who? But before he could answer, I saw the flicker of recognition in David's eyes. Mum, what does he mean? What's going on? The room felt like it was spinning, and the weight of Robert's words settled heavily on my chest. I had fought so hard to bring us together, to mend what was broken. But now, it felt like everything was unraveling. Stay strong, I reminded myself silently. We can get through this. But as Robert continued to speak, I realized I was standing on the edge of something much deeper, a truth that could either shatter us or bind us closer together. I had to face it. I had to confront my past. Tell me everything, I said, my voice steadying. But what Robert didn't know was that my resolve was stronger than ever. The fight for my family was far from over. And just as I was about to uncover a truth that would change everything, I felt a surge of determination. I would not let this destroy us. We would pull through, together. But deep down, I knew the battle was just beginning. I took a deep breath, grounding myself as Robert's words hung in the air. Tell me everything, I insisted, my heart thumping in my chest. I could feel David's eyes on me, wide with confusion. Robert shifted, his gaze flickering to the window before landing back on me. There's a will. A different will that includes others. You have to understand, Jennifer, this isn't just about money. It's about family connections that were hidden. Hidden? Hidden, I repeated, a knot tightening in my stomach. Who are these people? Robert hesitated, his face clouded with uncertainty. Half-siblings. Your father. He had another life. Another family. The room seemed to constrict. I could hear the clock ticking, each second echoing like a drumbeat of dread. How could he do this? I choked out, my pulse racing. How could he not tell me? The silence stretched painfully between us. I could see David shifting uncomfortably, piecing together the fragments of this shocking puzzle. My mind raced. Why are you only telling me this now, Robert? Why not sooner? Because I didn't know until recently. I've been trying to protect you, to keep this from tearing us apart, he explained, his voice low. It was a familiar tone, one that used to comfort me, but now it felt like a betrayal. Protect me? I scoffed, the heat rising in my cheeks. By keeping secrets? You think this will protect me? David's eyes darted between us, a mix of fear and confusion. Mom, what is going on? Why didn't I know any of this? I swallowed hard, trying to maintain my composure. I didn't know, love. I swear. I thought I knew my father. I thought our family was whole. The truth was out there now, hovering like a storm cloud. I could feel the weight of it pressing down on me. What do we do? I asked, my voice cracking. How do we even begin to process this? Robert stepped closer, urgency in his tone. We need to find out more. We can't let this divide us. We have to face it together. I nodded slowly, the flicker of hope igniting in my chest. You're right. Whatever it is, we'll face it. We've survived so much already. But as I looked into David's eyes, I saw a flicker of doubt. Mum, what if they try to take everything from us? He asked, his voice trembling. They can't take what we've built together, I replied firmly, gripping his shoulder. We're stronger than that. We'll hang in there, no matter what. Robert nodded, his expression softening. We'll figure this out, Jennifer. I promise. But even as I clung to that promise, I felt the ground shift beneath me. I was about to uncover a family legacy that could change everything. Yet, the thought of confronting these unknown siblings filled me with dread. What would they want? Would they want to take away everything I had fought for? Stay strong, I whispered to myself, the mantra echoing in my mind. I had to pull through. For David, for our family. As I stood there, the heaviness of the moment pressed in on me. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a precipice, looking down into an abyss of uncertainty. Then it hit me. What if they're not the enemy? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. What if they're just as lost as we are? That thought hung in the air, a fragile thread of hope, but I knew I had to confront my past to find the answers. I needed to uncover the truth about my father and what his choices meant for us. Let's start by reaching out. We need to know who they are, I said, determination hardening my resolve. David nodded, though the fear in his eyes lingered. I could see him grappling with the reality of it all. But what if they don't want to meet us? He asked, his voice small. Then we'll find a way to make them understand, I replied, my heart racing. We have to believe in the possibility of healing. But as I spoke those words, a nagging voice in the back of my mind whispered that healing wouldn't come easy. I was about to embark on a journey that could either bring us closer or tear us apart, and I wasn't sure which path lay ahead. But one thing was certain: I wouldn't back down. Whatever the outcome, I would stand firm. I would fight for my family, for our unity. Because if there was one thing I had learned, it was that strength doesn't come from avoiding challenges, but from facing them head-on. And as I prepared to confront the truth, I couldn't shake the feeling that the greatest battle was yet to come. The air crackled with tension as Robert leaned forward, his voice low but urgent. There are others, Jennifer. You need to understand this isn't just about you anymore. His eyes bore into mine, searching for understanding, but all I felt was a whirlwind of emotions, a mix of fear, anger, and a flicker of hope buried deep inside. David's face was a storm of confusion. Mom, what does he mean? What's happening? His youthfulness seemed to clash with the gravity of the situation. I wanted to shield him from the truth, to protect him from the chaos that had suddenly invaded our lives. It's complicated, love, I said, forcing a calmness I didn't feel. Robert is suggesting there are family members we don't know about, people who have a claim on, well, everything. The last word hung in the air like a heavy stone. Claim? What do you mean, claim? David's brow furrowed, his innocence cut through the tension like a knife. Your grandmother, she had a life before us, a life we weren't privy to. Robert's voice softened, as if he were sharing a delicate secret. There are half-siblings, cousins, people who might come after what's ours. My heart sank. But why didn't anyone tell us? Why keep it hidden? I could feel the injustice simmering, a familiar rage rising to the surface. Because it's messy, Jennifer. Family is messy. Sometimes it's easier to pretend that everything is fine. Robert's gaze shifted away, and I could see the weight of his own guilt. Easy for you to say, I shot back, my voice sharper than I intended. You didn't have to fight for every scrap of love, every moment of peace. David stepped between us, his hands raised. Mum, please, let's not fight. We need to figure this out. His plea echoed in the silence, and I felt my resolve waver. My instinct was to protect him, to shield him from the storm, but how could miss it? When I was standing in the eye of it myself? Then, in that moment of fragile clarity, I remembered the teachings of my faith, the call to stand firm, to lean on each other in times of trouble. We'll find our strength in this, I said, my voice steadier now. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Robert nodded, though a flicker of doubt crossed his face. I didn't want to be the bearer of bad news, but you deserve to know, we all do. Then let's dig deeper, I said, my heart racing with the challenge. Let's uncover this truth and deal with it, together. The words felt like a promise not just to Robert, but to David, to myself, a promise that we wouldn't let anyone tear our family apart. As I took a deep breath, the reality of what lay ahead began to settle in. Secrets had a way of festering in the dark, and now they were surfacing like a cruel tide, threatening to sweep us away. But I wasn't about to let that happen. Stay strong, I whispered to myself, clinging to the faith that had seen me through so much already. We would pull through. We had to. Just then, Robert's phone buzzed, breaking the heavy silence. He glanced at the screen, his face paling. It's a message from one of them, he said, his voice trembling. They want to meet. My stomach dropped. The confrontation was closer than I thought. Who? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. But deep down, I knew I could feel the shadows creeping closer, the weight of the unknown pressing down on us. They've reached out. They want to talk about the inheritance. The word hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I felt the ground shift beneath me again. Let's go, I said, steeling myself for the battle ahead. We'll face this head on, no more running. But as we prepared to leave, a chilling thought crossed my mind. What if the truth was more than we could bear? What if it tore us apart instead? Instead of bringing us together, but I couldn't dwell on that. I had to believe in the power of redemption, in the strength we shared as a family. And as we stepped out into the world, I knew one thing for certain: this was just the beginning. The real fight was yet to come, and I would do whatever it took to protect my family. Stay strong, I reminded myself again. We can do this. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that the storm was far from over. The weight of Robert's revelation hung in the air like a fog, thick and suffocating. I could feel my heart pounding, an insistent drum echoing the chaos swirling within me. Others, I repeated, my voice trembling yet defiant. Who are they? What do you mean? David stood beside me, confusion etched on his face. His eyes darted between Robert and me, searching for clarity in the storm. Mom, what's happening? I wanted to shield him, to protect him from the harsh truths that were spilling forth, but I couldn't. Not anymore. This was bigger than us. Robert took a breath, steeling himself as if bracing for a storm. You don't know your father's history, do you? His words cut through the silence like a knife. There are children, from before you, half-siblings that you were never told about. A wave of disbelief washed over me. Half-siblings? The word felt foreign, like a bitter pill lodged in my throat. How could this happen? Why didn't he tell me? Robert's gaze softened, a flicker of empathy flickering in his eyes. He wanted to protect you, but the truth can't stay buried forever. I felt the ground shift beneath me. Memories of family dinners, laughter echoing through our home, all suddenly felt tainted. What else don't I know? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Your father had a life before you, Mary. And those children, they might have claims to the estate. My mind reeled. The inheritance, the house, the stability I had fought so hard to maintain. No, I breathed, a quiet desperation creeping into my tone. They can't take that from us. It's ours. David's hand found mine, squeezing tightly. Mom, we'll figure this out. We always do. I looked at him, the fierce determination in his eyes igniting a spark of hope within me. We'd been through so much together. This would be no different. You're right, love. We can't let this tear us apart. Robert leaned in, sensing the shift in the room. But you have to understand, this isn't just about money or property. It's about family, about who you are. I felt a mixture of anger and fear. Who I am your sister. I am David's mother. I've fought for this family. The tension crackled like electricity, the unspoken truths hanging heavy between us. I needed to know more. Where are these siblings? They're in the area. I've met them. Robert's voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed his uncertainty. They deserve to know you, and you deserve to know them. I felt the walls closing in. No, I don't want to meet them. I want my family to stay intact. Mary, David said gently, we can't ignore this. We have to face it head on. I wanted to scream, to push back against the tidal wave of emotions crashing over me. But the reality was undeniable. Fine, I said, my voice trembling with resolve. I'll meet them, but I will not lose what I have fought for. Stay strong, I whispered to myself, rallying my thoughts. We can get through this. But as the weight of Robert's truth settled over us, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The storm was brewing, and I had to be ready for whatever came next. Just as I steeled myself, David's phone buzzed, breaking the tension. He glanced at the screen, his face paling. Mum, it's a message from one of them. I felt the world tilt once again. What does it say? David hesitated, his finger hovering over the screen. They want to meet. Tonight. My heart raced. Tonight? No, I need time to prepare. But deep down, I knew this was it. There was no turning back now. We have to go, I said, my voice strong. We'll face this together. As we left the room, I could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on me, but I also felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was an opportunity for healing, for understanding, and as we stepped out into the evening light, I took a deep breath. This is our chance to redefine what family means, I thought. But little did I know, the revelations awaiting us would challenge everything I believed. I stood there, my heart pounding, as Robert's words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Others, I repeated, searching David's face for answers. It was a mix of confusion and concern, and I knew we were on the brink of a revelation that could tear our family apart or bind us together in ways we never imagined. "Tell me who?" I pressed, my voice steady despite the whirlwind inside me. I could feel David tensing beside me. He was just a boy, yet he was facing the storm alongside me. Protecting him was my priority, but the truth was now a formidable foe. Robert took a deep breath, his eyes narrowing as if weighing the consequences of his next words. "You have half-siblings. They're out there, and they're coming for what's yours." The room turned cold. I could almost feel the chill of betrayal creeping in. "Half-siblings?" I echoed, feeling the walls close in. "Who are they? How do you know?" Robert shifted uncomfortably. "I found out during the estate planning. It was kept secret for years. Your father wanted to protect you, but now that he's gone, the truth is surfacing." David's face paled, and I could see his mind racing. "Mom, is this true? Is there really more family out there?" "Stay strong," I whispered to myself, clenching my fists to keep from shaking. "We can get through this." But with each passing second, I felt my grip on our family's unity slipping away. "Yes, it's true, David," I finally admitted, my voice low, "but we need to focus on what this means for us. We can't let this tear us apart." Robert nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "I didn't mean to drop this on you like a bomb. I thought you should hear it from me, before they show up." "Show up?" I asked, my heart racing again. "You mean they're coming here?" "Not yet, but they will. They have rights, Mary, rights to your father's estate." A wave of anger surged through me. "What rights? He didn't even know about them." I was fighting to keep my composure. "This is outrageous. We have built a life here, and now they want to sweep in and take what's ours?" David stepped closer, his youthful bravery shining through the fear. "Mum, we've fought hard for everything we have. We won't let them take it away." That was my boy. His strength was a reminder of why I had to keep fighting. "You're right, sweetheart. We'll stand our ground. We'll find a way to face this together." But as I looked into Robert's eyes, I saw an unsettling truth. He wasn't just the messenger. He was tangled in this conflict too. "What's your role in all of this, Robert?" I asked, suspicion creeping into my voice. "I want to help you," he said quickly. "I know how they operate. I can help you prepare for their arrival. It's going to be a battle, and I don't want you to face it alone." I hesitated. Trust was a fragile thing, but the stakes were too high. "All right," I said finally, "but understand this. If you're playing both sides, I will not hesitate to protect my family." "Fair enough," he replied, holding up his hands in surrender. "I just want the truth to come out, Mary. No more secrets." Secrets. The word lingered in the room like a ghost. It was a reminder that while we were dealing with the present, the past was still haunting us. I had to confront the ghosts that threatened to drag us under. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my resolve settle in. "Let's start digging then. We need to know who they are and what they want." David nodded, his eyes fierce. "We'll find our strength together. We can't back down." As we began to sift through the layers of our family history, I felt a flicker of hope. This was our fight now. We had to reclaim our narrative, to stand united against the unknown. But deep down, I knew that this was only the beginning. There was still so much more to uncover. And just when I thought we were bracing for the worst, I noticed a glimmer of something on the kitchen table, a forgotten letter, edges yellowed with age. My hands trembled as I reached for it. The weight of what could be inside felt like a ticking clock. But what I didn't realize was this letter held a truth that could change everything yet again. I opened it, and my breath caught in my throat. The name on the paper sent a chill down my spine. What I discovered in that moment would force me to question everything I thought I knew. I stood there, the letter trembling in my hands, the name on the paper a thunderclap in my mind. It was my mother's name, the name I thought I knew, but now it felt like a stranger. The ink was smudged, but the words were clear enough. "I've left everything for you, Mary. It's time to claim your truth." David leaned closer, his brow furrowing. "What does it say?" I swallowed hard, my heart racing. "It's from Mum. She left something for me. Something important." The air in the kitchen thickened, tension wrapping around us like a heavy fog. Robert stepped back, his expression shifting from concern to intrigue. "What kind of truth?" I bit my lip, my mind racing. This was the key, the answer to all the questions that had haunted our family for so Long. I don't know yet. But it sounds like she knew something was coming. Something we needed to prepare for. David's eyes sparked with determination. Then let's find it. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. I nodded, the weight of the letter still heavy in my grasp. It felt like a lifeline, a chance to unravel the secrets that had ensnared us all. We need to dig deeper, uncover everything she left behind. As we gathered around the table, I could see the resolve in their eyes. This was about more than just me. It was about our family, our legacy. We were in this fight together. The letter held a promise of redemption. I could almost feel the warmth of my mother's presence, urging me to be brave, to stand tall. Let's split up. We can search the attic, the basement, every corner of this house. There must be more. I'll check the attic, David said, already moving toward the stairs. You two can look through the old boxes in the shed. I felt a surge of gratitude. Thank you, both of you. I know this isn't easy. Robert put his hand on my shoulder, a sincere look in his eyes. We're family, Mary. We'll pull through. With that, we scattered, each of us on a mission. I made my way to the shed, where dust danced in the beams of sunlight filtering through the cracks. The smell of old wood and forgotten memories enveloped me, a bittersweet reminder of the past. I opened a box marked Mementos, my heart pounding as I sifted through the contents. Old photographs, trinkets, and letters filled the space. Each item told a story, a fragment of our history, and then I found it a small, intricately carved wooden box tucked away in the corner. I could feel a pull toward it, a sense that it held something significant. I pried it open, revealing a collection of letters tied with a faded ribbon. My hands shook as I untied the ribbon, the first letter revealing itself. It was addressed to me, written in my mother's elegant handwriting. Dear Mary, it began. If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. There are things I need you to know. I inhaled sharply, the weight of her words crashing over me like a tidal wave. I could hear the echoes of her voice in my mind, her love wrapping around me like a warm embrace. As I read on, the truth began to unfurl a tale of sacrifice, of choices made for love. She had hidden pieces of our family's story, secrets that shaped who we were. Tears streamed down my face, a mixture of sorrow and understanding. Mom, what have you done? I whispered to the empty shed. Just then, David burst in, his face flushed with excitement. Mary, you won't believe what I found! He held up an old photo album, the cover worn but familiar. There are pictures here of family gatherings, but look at this. He turned to a page, his finger pointing at a photograph of a gathering I had never seen before. My breath caught in my throat. That's not our family. No, it's not, he confirmed, his voice low. But they look just like us. Robert joined us, his eyes widening as he took in the image. This is bigger than we thought. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. What does this mean? David's brow furrowed. It means we need to find out who they are, why they look like us. The room buzzed with potential, each moment stretching with possibility. But as we stood there, the pieces slowly coming together, a sense of dread crept in. What if these people are tied to the conflict? I asked, my voice shaking. What if they come after us? Robert's expression hardened. Then we'll be ready for them. We've faced enough. We can't back down now. A sense of unity surged through me. This was our fight, our chance to reclaim our narrative. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my mother's love surrounding me. But just as a flicker of hope ignited within, I heard a noise outside, a car door slamming, voices rising. They're here, David whispered, his eyes wide with fear. My heart raced. We have to hide everything now. We scrambled to put the letters and photographs away, a whirlwind of motion as we prepared for whatever was about to unfold. As the door creaked open, I felt that familiar chill down my spine. The ghosts of our past were coming, and this time we were ready to face them. But a single thought echoed in my mind. What if the truth we were about to confront was not just about them, but about us? I steadied my breath, resolved not to let fear take hold. We would stand strong, united. We had each other, and that was our greatest weapon. The door swung wide, shadows crossing the threshold, and the battle for our family's future began. Stay strong, I murmured, my heart pounding. We'll pull through this together.